Dharmabytes is brought to you by Free Buddhist Audio, the Dharma for your life. Our work is funded entirely by donations from our generous listeners. If you would like to help us keep this free, make a contribution at freebuddhistaudio.com/donate. Thank you, and happy listening.
Compared to what is the noble quest. Here, the Buddha, says the Buddha, someone who are themselves subject to birth, aging, illness, death, grief and affliction, knowing the danger in things of this nature. That is, that they age, they get ill, they break, they die, they cause us grief. This person goes in quest of what is unborn, unaging, unailing, undying, griefless and unafflicted. Goes in quest of the unsurpassed safety and security which is nirvana. And with the distinction of this ignoble quest from the noble quest, the Buddha goes on to tell the story of his own noble quest, starting in his youth. So what's striking is that if we take this story seriously, at the beginning of his noble quest, the Bodhisattva, the Buddha-to-be, that is, could have had no idea whether it was actually possible to find nirvana, the supreme safety and security, or even whether such a goal existed. Yeah, we all know that it's possible to seek satisfaction in what is born and aging and going to die and so on. But is it actually possible to find something that is unborn, unaging, undying? It seems like it might not be possible, surely. So he was obviously a very idealistic young man. And this is a quality that is, we could say, absolutely essential at the beginning of the spiritual life. A kind of idealism, a belief in our own potential, and even the potential of the universe, which amounts to an open mind and heart, you could say. And so, yes, of course, there's going to be disappointment and disillusionment along the way. But this is what brings maturity. So I'm defending idealism here. This is what brings maturity as we go along. This is the way the naive young hero, this idealistic young man, becomes a victorious spiritual warrior, you could say, to use that language. I'm deliberately using the language and imagery of the heroic quest here, because it's the language used in this particular early Buddhist discourse. But this doesn't mean that the language of heroism, of questing, of renunciation and victory is the only way in which we can think and talk about Buddhism. Perhaps you're at a different stage of life, or your spiritual orientation simply feels very different. In fact, we can talk about three models of the spiritual life: that of self-development, self-discovery, and self-surrender. Each one has its own images, stories, and language. Each is valid in its own way and will be appropriate for different people at different times. The image of the noble quest is squarely in the model of self-development. This language of heroic striving, of overcoming and victory, is appropriate to self-development, but perhaps not to self-surrender or self-discovery. Someone engaged in a spiritual life of self-discovery, for instance, might respond to the image of the lotus opening, just of its own accord when the conditions are right. And someone engaged in the spiritual life as self-surrender might respond to an image like that of letting go into the blessing power of Amitabha, a Buddha, for instance. But someone engaged in the spiritual life as self-development is more likely to respond to the image of the noble quest, the spiritual hero setting off to overcome obstacles and to find the treasure, which, of course, in this case, is the unborn, undying nirvana.
We hope you enjoyed today's Dharma Bite. Please help us keep this free. Make a contribution at freebuddhistaudio.com/donate. And thank you.